ladies and students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, learners and listeners, those who are listening, watching from the field of science, religion, arts, commerce and engineering, the most honorable present Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, assistant and advisors, respected reverend fathers and mothers, affectionate sons and daughters. I, Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily, cordially welcome all of you. Dear friends, you are listening, your subconscious mind and your happiness. William James, father of American psychology, said that the greatest discovery of the 19th century was not in the realm of physical science. The greatest discovery was the power of the subconscious, touched by faith in every human being, is that limitless reservoir of power which can overcome any problem in the world. True and lasting happiness will come into your life the day you get the clear realization that you can overcome any weakness. The day you realize that your subconscious can solve your problems, heal your body, and prosper you beyond your fondest dream. You might have felt very happy when your child was born, when you got married, when you graduated from college, or when you won a great victory or a prize. You might have been very happy when you became engaged to the loveliest girl or the most handsome man. You could go on and list innumerable experiences which have made you happy. However, no matter how marvelous these experiences are, they do not give real lasting happiness. They are transitory. The book of Proverbs gives the answer. Whosoever truth in the Lord, happy is the whosoever trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. When you trust in the Lord, means the power and wisdom of your subconscious mind to lead and govern and direct all your ways, you will become poised, serene and relaxed. As you radiate love, peace and goodwill to all, you are really building a superstructure of happiness for all the days of your life. You must choose happiness. Happiness is a state of mind. There is a phrase in the Bible which says, choose ye this day whom ye will serve. You have the freedom to choose happiness. This may seem extraordinarily simple, and it is. Perhaps this is why people stumble over the way to happiness. They do not see the simplicity of the key to happiness. The great things of life are simple, dynamic, and creative. They produce well-being and happiness. St. Paul reveals to you how you can think your way into a life of dynamic power and happiness in these words. Finally, brothers, whosoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whosoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Fill through the Bible in sentence 4 to 8. How to choose happiness? Begin now to choose happiness. This is how you do it. When you open your eyes in the morning, say to yourself, divine order takes charge of my life today and every day. All things work together for good for me today. This is a new and wonderful day for me. There will never be another day like this one. I am divinely guided all day long, and whatever I do will prosper. Divine love surrounds me, enfolds me, and wraps me, and I go forth in peace. Whenever my attention wanders away from that which is good and constructive, I will immediately bring it back to the contemplation of that which is lovely and of good report. I am a spiritual and mental magnet, attracting to myself all things which bless and prosper me. I am going to be a wonderful success in all my undertakings today. I am definitely going to be happy all day long. Start each day in this manner, then you will be choosing happiness and you will be a radiant, joyous person. He made it a habit to be happy. A number of years ago, I stayed for about a week in a farmer's house in Connemara on the west coast of Ireland. He seemed to be always singing and whistling and was full of humor. I asked him the secret of his happiness, and his reply was, "It is a habit of mine to be happy. Every morning when I awaken and every night before I go to sleep, I bless my family, the crops, the cattle, and I thank God for the wonderful harvest." This farmer had made a practice of this for over 40 years. As you know, thoughts repeated regularly and systematically sink into the subconscious mind and become habitual. He discovered that happiness is a habit. You must desire to be happy. There is one very important point about being happy. You must sincerely desire to be happy. There are people who have been depressed, dejected and unhappy so long that as they suddenly made happy by some wonderful, good, joyous news, they would actually be like the woman who said to me, "It is wrong to be so happy." They have been so accustomed to the old mental patterns that they do not feel at home being happy. They long for the former depressed, unhappy state. I knew a woman in England who had who had rheumatism for many years. She would pat herself on the knee and say, my rheumatism is bad today. I cannot go out. My rheumatism keeps me miserable. This dear elderly lady got a lot of attention from son, daughter, and the neighbors. She really wanted her rheumatism. She enjoyed her misery, as she called it. This woman did not really want to be happy. I suggested a curative procedure to her. I wrote down some biblical verses and told her that if she gave attention to these truths, her mental attitude would undoubtedly change and would result in her faith and confidence in being restored to health. She was not interested. There seems to be a peculiar mental morbid streak in many people, whereby they seem to enjoy being miserable and sad. Why choose unhappinesses? Why choose unhappiness? Many people choose unhappiness by entertaining these ideas. Today is a black day. Everything is going to go wrong. I am not going to succeed. Everyone is against me. Business is bad and it is going to get worse. I am always late. I never get the breaks. He can, but I can't. If you have this attitude of mind, the first thing in the morning you will attract all these experiences to you and you will be very unhappy. Begin to realize that the world you live in is determined largely by what goes on in your mind. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman philosopher and sage said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Emerson, America's foremost philosopher, said, "A man is what he thinks all day long." The thoughts you habitually entertain in your mind have the tendency to actualize themselves in physical conditions. Make certain you do not indulge in negative thoughts, defeats, defeatist thoughts, or unkind, depressing thoughts. Recall frequently to your mind that you can experience nothing outside your own mentality. If I had $1,000,000, I would be happy. I have visited many men in mental institutions who are millionaires, but they insisted they were penniless and destitute. They were incarcerated because of psychotic, paranoid, and manic depressive tendencies. Wealth in and of itself will not make you happy. On the other hand, it is not a deterrent to happiness. Today, there are many people trying to buy happiness through the purchase of radio, television sets, automobiles, a home in the country, a private yacht, and a swimming pool. But happiness cannot be purchased or procured in that way. The kingdom of happiness is in your thought and feeling. Too many people have the idea that it takes something artificial to produce happiness. Some way, if I were elected mayor, made president of the organization, promoted to general manager of the corporation, I would be happy. The truth is that happiness is a mental and spiritual state. None of these positions mentioned will necessarily be cued happiness. Your strength, joy, and happiness of divine order and right action lodged in your mind, and by applying these principles in all phases of your life, he found happiness to be the harvest of a quiet mind. Lecturing in San Francisco some years ago, I interviewed a man who was very unhappy and dejected over the way his business was going. He was the general manager. His heart was filled with resentment toward the vice president and the president of the organization. He claimed that they opposed him because of this internal strife. Business was declining. He was receiving no dividends or stock bonus. This is how he solved his business problem. The first thing in the morning, he affirmed quietly as follows: all those working in our corporation are honest, sincere, cooperative, faithful, and full of goodwill to all. They are mental and spiritual links in the chain of this corporation's growth, welfare, and prosperity. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill in my thoughts, words, and deeds to my two associates and to all those in the company. The president and the vice president of our company are divinely guided in all their undertakings. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious mind makes all decisions through me. There is only right action in all our transactions and in our relationship with each other. I send the messengers of peace, love, and goodwill before me to the office. Peace and harmony. Peace and harmony reign supreme in the minds and hearts of all those in the company, including myself. I now go forth into a new day, full of faith, confidence, and trust. This business executive repeated the above meditation slowly. There times in the meaning, feeling the truth of what he affirmed. When fearful or angry thoughts came into his mind during the day, he would say to himself, peace, harmony, and poise govern my mind at all times. As he continued disciplining his mind in his manner, all the harmful thoughts ceased to come and peace came into his mind. He reaped the harvest. Subsequently, he wrote me to the effect that at the end of about 2 weeks of reordering his mind, the presidents and the vice president called him into the office, praised his operation and his new constructive ideas, and remarked how fortunate they were in having him a general manager. He was very happy in discovering that man finds happiness within himself. The bloke or stump is not really there. The bloke or stump is not really there. I read a newspaper article some years ago which told about a horse that had sheathed when he came to a stump on the road. Subsequently, every time the horse came to that same stump, he sheathed The farmer dug the stump out, burned it, and leveled the old road. Yet for 25 years, every time the horse passed the place where the former stump was, he shied. The horse was shying at the memory of a stump. There is no block to your happiness save in your thought life and mental imagery. Worry holding you back, fear is the thought in your mind. You can dig it up this very moment by supplanting it with faith in success, achievement, and victory over all problems. I knew a man who failed to business. He said to me, I made mistake. I have learned a lot. I am going back into business and I will be a tremendous success. He faced up to that stump in his mind. He did not whine or complain, tore up the stump of failure, and through believing in his inner powers to back him up, he banished all fear, thoughts, and old depression. Believe in yourself and you will succeed and be happy. The happiest people, the happiest man is he who constantly brings forth and practices what is best in him. Happiness and virtue complement each other. The best are not only the happiest, but the happiest are usually the best in the art of living life successfully. God is the highest and best in you. Express more of God's love, light, truth, and beauty, and you will become one of the happiest persons in the world today. Epictetus, the Greek Stoic philosopher, said, there is but one way to tranquility of mind and happiness. Let this, therefore, be always ready at hand with thee, both when thou wakest early in the morning and all the day long, and when thou goest late to sleep, to account no external things thine own, but commit all these to God. Dear friends, your presence, praiseworthy, admirable, keep continue. Summary of steps to happiness. William James said that the greatest discovery of the 19th century was the power of the subconscious mind touched by faith. There is tremendous power within you. Happiness will come to you when you acquire a sublime confidence in this power. Then you will make your dreams come true. You can rise victorious over any defeat and realize the cherished desires of your heart through the marvelous power of your subconscious mind. This is the meaning of whosoever trusteth in the Lord means spiritual laws of the subconscious mind. Happy is he. You must choose happiness. Happiness is a habit. It is a good habit to ponder often on whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philosophy word 428. When you open your eyes in the morning, say to yourself, I choose happiness today, I choose success today, I choose right action today, I choose love and goodwill for all today, I choose peace today, pour life, love and interest into this affirmation, and you have chosen happiness. Give thanks for all your blessings several times a day. Furthermore, pray for the peace, happiness and prosperity of all members of your family, your associates and all people everywhere. You must sincerely desire to be happy. Nothing is accomplished without desire. Desire is a wish with wings of imagination and faith. Imagine the fulfillment of your desire and feel its reality, and it will come to pass. Happiness comes in answered prayer. By constantly dwelling on thoughts of fear, worry, anger, hate and failure, you will become very depressed and unhappy. Remember, your life is what your thoughts make of it. You cannot buy happiness with all the money in the world. Some millionaires are very happy, some are very unhappy. Many people with very little worldly goods are very happy, and some are very unhappy. Some married people are happy and some very unhappy. Some single people are happy and some are very unhappy. The kingdom of happiness is in your thoughts and feeling. Happiness is the harvest of a quiet mind. Another, anchor your thoughts on peace, quiet, security and divine guidance, and your mind will be productive of happiness. There is no block to avoid, there is no block to your happiness. External things are not causative, these are effects, not cause. Take your cue from the only creative principle within you. Your thought is cause, and a new cause produces a new effect. Choose happiness. The happiest man is he who brings forth the highest and the best in him. God is the highest and the best in him, for the kingdom of God is within. Your subconscious mind and harmonious human relations. In studying this book, you learn that your subconscious mind is a recording machine which faithfully reproduces whatever you impress upon it. This is one of the reasons for the application of the golden rule in human relations. Matt from 7 to 12 words says, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, do ye even so to them. This quotation has outer and inner meanings. You are interested in it, inner meaning, from the standpoint of your subconscious mind, which is, as you would that men should think about you, think you about them in like manner, as you would that men should feel about you, feel you also about them, in like manner. As you would want men to act toward you, act you reward them in like manner. For example, you may be polite and courteous to someone in your office, but when his back is turned, you are very critical and resentful toward him in your mind. Such negative thoughts are highly destructive to you. It is like taking poison. You are actually taking mental poisons which rob you of vitality, enthusiasm, strength, guidance, and goodwill. These negative thoughts and emotions sink down into your subconscious and cause all kinds of difficulties and maladies in your life. The master key to happy relationships with others: judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. Matthew chapter 7, sentence 1 or 2. 1 to 2. A study of these verses and the application of the inner truths therein contained represent the real key to harmonious relations. To judge is to think, to arrive at a mental verdict or conclusion in your mind. The thought you have about the other person is your thought because you are thinking it. Your thoughts are creative. Therefore, you actually create in your own experience what you think and feel about the other person. It is also true that the suggestion you give to another, you give to yourself, because your mind is the creative medium. This is why it is said, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. When you know this law and the way your subconscious mind works, you are careful to think, feel, and act righteous towards the others. These verses teach you about the emancipation of man and reveal to you the solution to your individual problem, and with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. The good you do for others comes back to you in like measure, and the evil you do returns to you by the law of your own mind. If a man cheats and deceives another, he is actually cheating and deceiving himself. His sense of guilt and mood of loss inevitably will attract loss to him in some way at some time. His subconscious records his mental act and reacts according to the mental intention or motivation. Your subconscious mind is impersonal and unchanging, neither considering persons nor respecting religious affiliations or institutions of any kind. It is neither compassionate nor vindictive. The way you think, feel, and act toward others returns at last upon yourself. The daily headlines made him sick. Begin now to observe yourself. Observe your reactions to people, conditions, and circumstances. How do you respond to the events and news of the day? It makes no difference if all the other people were wrong and you alone were right. If the news disturb you, it is your evil because your negative emotions robbed you of peace and harmony. A woman wrote me about her husband, saying that he goes into a rage when he reads what certain newspaper columnists write in the newspaper. She added that this constant reaction of anger and suppressed rage on his part brought on bleeding ulcers, and his physician recommended an emotional reconditioning. I invited this man to see me, and I explained to him the way his mind functions, indicating how emotionally immature it was to get angry when others write articles with which he disapproves or disagrees. He began to realize that he should give the newspaper man freedom to express himself even though the latter disagreed with him politically, religiously, or in any other way. In the same manner, the newspaper man would give him freedom to write a letter to the newspaper disagreeing with his published statements. He learned that he could disagree without being disagreeable. He awakened to the simple truth that it is never what a person says or does that affects him. It is his reaction to what is said or done that matters. This explanation was the cure for this mind, and he realized that with a little practice he could master his morning tantrums. His wife told me subsequently that he laughed at himself and also at what the columnist says. They no longer have power to disturb, annoy, and irritate him. His ulcers have disappeared due to his emotional poise and serenity. I hate women, but I like men. A private secretary was very bitter towards some of the girls in her office because they were gossiping about her, and as she said, spreading vicious lies about her. She admitted that she did not like women. She said, I hate women, but I like men. I discovered also that she spoke to the girls who were under her in the office in a very haughty, impetuous, and irritable tone of voice. She pointed out that they took a delight in making things difficult for her. There was a certain pomposity in her way of speaking, and I could see where her tone of voice would affect some people unpleasantly. Very good evening, all of you students, those who are listening. May I know your name, please, for your presence? Your presence is praiseworthy. What's your name? May I speaking to a student? May I know your name, please? Entirely fine and fit. And what about you? How are you, students? Are you okay? Are you fine? Or are you better, nicer, finer than before? If all the people in the office or factory annoy you, isn't, may God bless all of us, isn't it a possibility that the vibration, annoyance and turmoil may be due to some subconscious pattern or mental projection from you? We know that a dog will react ferociously if you hate or fear dog. Animals pick up your subconscious vibrations and react accordingly. Many undisciplined human beings are just as sensitive as dogs, cats, and other animals. I suggest I suggest a process of prayer to this private secretary who hated women, explaining to her that when she began to identify herself with spiritual values and commenced to affirm the truth of life, her voice, mannerism, and hatred of women would completely disappear. She was surprised to know that the emotion of hatred shows up in a person's speech, actions, in his writings, and in all phases of his life. She ceased reacting in the typical resentful and angry way. She established a pattern of prayer which practiced which she practiced regularly, systematically, and consciously in the office. The prayer was as follows: I think, speak, and act lovingly, quietly, and peacefully. I know radiate love, peace, tolerance, and kindliness to all the girls who criticized me and gossiped about me. I anchor my thoughts on peace, harmony, and goodwill to all. Whenever I am about to react negatively, I say firmly to myself, I am going to think, speak, and act from the standpoint of the principle of harmony, health, and peace within myself. Creative intelligence leads, rules, and guides me in all my ways. The practice of this prayer transformed her life, and she found that all criticism and annoyance ceased. The girls became co-workers and friends along life's journey. She discovered that there is no one to change but yourself, but myself. His inner speech held back his promotion. One day, a salesman came to see me and described his difficulties in working with the sales manager of his organization. He had been with the company 10 years and had received no promotion or recognition of any kind. He showed me his sales figures, which were greater proportionately than the other men in the territory. He said that the sales manager did not like him, that he was unjustly treated, and that at conferences the manager was rude to him and at times ridiculed his suggestions. I explained that undoubtedly the cause was to great degree within himself, and that his concept and belief about his superior bore witness to the reaction of this man. The measure we met shall be measured to us again. His mental measure or concept of the sales manager was that he was mean and cantankerous. He was filled with bitterness. A vigorous conversation with himself, filled with criticism, mental arguments, recriminations, and denunciations of his sales manager. What he gave our mentally, he was inevitably bound to get back. This salesman realized that his inner speech was highly destructive because the intensity and force of his silent thoughts and emotions, and personally conducted mental condemnation and vilification of the sales manager entered into his own subconscious mind. This brought about the negative response from his boss, as well as creating many other personal, physical, and emotional disorders. He began to pray frequently as follows: I am the only thinker in my universe. I am responsible for what I think about my boss. My sales manager is not responsible for the way I think about him. I refuse to give power to any person, place, or thing, to anyone to annoy me or disturb me. I wish health, success, peace of mind, and happiness for my boss. I sincerely wish him well, and I know he is divinely guided in all his ways. He repeated this prayer out loud, slowly, quietly, and feelingly, knowing that his mind is like a garden, and that whatever he plants in the garden will come forth like seeds after their kind. I also taught him to practice mental imagery prior to sleep in this way. He imagined that his sales manager was congratulating him on his fine work, on his zeal and enthusiasm, and on his wonderful response from customers. He felt the reality of all this, felt his handshake, heard the tone of his voice, and saw him smile. He made a real mental movie, dramatizing it to the best of his ability. Night after night, he conduced and he conducted this mental movie, knowing that his subconscious mind was the receptive plate on which his conscious imagining would be impressed. Gradually, by a process of what may be termed mental and spiritual, osmosis, the impression was made on the subconscious mind and the expression automatically came forth. The sales manager subsequently called him up to San Francisco, congratulated him, and gave him a new assignment at division sales manager, over 100 men with a big increase in salary. He changed his concept and estimate of his boss, and the latter responded accordingly. Becoming emotionally mature, what the other person says or does cannot really annoy or irritate you except you permit him to disturb you. The only way he can annoy you in thought, in through your own thought. For example, if you get angry, you have to go through 4 stages in your mind. You begin to think about what he said. You decide to get angry and generate an emotion of rage. Then you decide to act. Perhaps you talk back and react a kind. You see that the thought, emotion, reaction and action all take place in your mind. When you become emotionally mature, you do not respond negatively to the criticism and resentment of others. To do so would mean that you had defended to that state of low mental vibration and become one with the negative atmosphere of the other. Identify yourself with your aim in life and do not permit any person, place or thing to deflect you from your inner sense of peace, tranquility and radiant health. The meaning of love in harmonious human relations. Sigmund Freud, the Austrian founder of psychology, said that unless the personality has love, it sickens and dies. Love includes understanding, goodwill, and respect for the divinity in the other person. The more love and goodwill you emanate and execute, the more comes back to you. If you puncture the other fellow's ego and wound his estimate of himself, you cannot gain his goodwill. Recognize that every man wants to be loved